Kia ora, good evening. I'm Simon Morton. I present the weekly programme on Radio New Zealand National, This Way Up. Thank you. One listener, 2, 3. Thank you. I'm a curious fellow and I get paid to ask questions, so I've sort of found a métier or a career or a craft that is really spot on. I'm really privileged actually. So what I'm about to regurgitate is some of the stuff that I have sort of stumbled across as I do my job, and I basically have gone through and thought, Wellington on a plate, what's going to be relevant? So I've decided to take you very briefly, and I say briefly, to a restaurant of the future, and then into a supermarket of the future and look at some of the food that we're going to be imbibing. So I'm just going to draw my breath and give you a little insight. This is PowerPoint template's got a 20-second flick thing on it, and when I did my first presentation and ran the thing to practice, it was like every 20 seconds I heard the pips, and Hewitt Humphrey, I saw him sort of frowning at me, and it was just a nightmare. It was sort of, so for me, 20 seconds per slide is a challenge, but the kids did about 3.5 minutes and asked what was for dinner, so hopefully I'll get past 3.5 minutes. Okay, let's go. Restaurants of the future. Well, traditionally we've relied on critics and their palates, a refined cadre of people to tell us where to go in terms of appraising restaurants. These days with social networks, everyone can be a critic. TripAdvisor is one that I particularly like. The tendency with a lot of these resources, these online sites, is people tend to be negative, and a case in point for TripAdvisor is in the UK, there's been a large case taken against them by restaurants. Another thing is that once you get into the restaurant, menus in the future may have metrics on things like calories. In New York now, you have to say how many calories per dish. This is if you have a chain of restaurants of more than one. So what are we going to see on the menus of the future? Fat, stuff like that. We've traditionally trusted menus and relied on menus to tell us what's in the food, but with handheld food analyzers, that's a good picture, isn't it? It also looks maybe like a proctoscope of the future. That one over there is a DNA tester. You can basically dip it into your food and work out what is that food. And this is really important for menus because people do hide behind flashy French terms on menus, but is it really snapper or is it tilapia? Well, 2 students in America tested sushi in New York and found out that 25% of sushi was in fact mislabeled. Oceana have just published a study which finds in America up to 70% of fish is mislabeled, so there's nowhere to hide. That's restaurants. Let's head to the supermarket. Before you get there, they'll know who you are and what you're going to buy. We're leaking data and they will use this to predict what you want. They'll model you and basically they will give you offers. You'll go into the supermarket probably armed with offers as we cede, I guess, more and more privacy based on convenience. That's a bit of a buzzword there. Once we're in there, we're going to be looking for shortcuts. How do we say who we are through the food that we consume? How do we express our politics today? Well, for lots of us, it's about consuming, and these are shortcuts. The problem is the provenance behind these, and what do they actually stand for? We have less time, and an example of this, in the future, we're going to be paying a lot more for less. And this is an example here. In New York, one of the largest black market products at the moment is raw milk. Post-Pasteurian era is here. Love your microbes. Bring them on, man. That's what's going to happen. So I like that post-Pasteurian line. Anyway, back to labels. Serious stuff here. They're complex things. The amount of stories we do where we end up saying read the label, well, they're bloody hard to read. They're confusing. We've got this tussle between food producers and food legislators, and it's being played out on the back of the products that we buy in the supermarkets. So in the future, or today, we're going to have more tools like this. Source map started for electronics, that's the iPhone 4 there. All the components, where do they come from? What is the carbon footprint? They've got tortilla soup there, weird number that one, and chocolate over there. Provenance, where does my product come from? Having an insight into where that food has come from. Take it a step further, we have Good Guide here, set up by scientists in Boston, and this rates products based on 3 factors. It's got scientific, health, and environment. And basically they've got an iPhone app, they've got a couple of 100,000 products on the database now, and you can scan your food and it will give you insights, latest scientific research, chemical information, again run by scientists. Now in the supermarket there's going to be lots of farm foods, and let's face it, the agrarian model has done us pretty well for a couple of millennia. You know, it sort of has worked, but it's starting to creak and groan a little bit. And though some of the reasons Well, they're complex, but I'm going to have a go at sort of running through a few of the issues. This graph's a nice one. By 2050, there's going to be more of us. We are living longer. Our fertility rates are decreasing. That growth is not going to be because of new people, it's going to be because we are living longer. Longevity, and we're going to be consuming more as we go through that journey. Journey, Graham Henry, bad word. Anyway, back to this. One of the solutions is going to be vertical farming. Dixon Despommier. Now, hot houses, old sort of tech. On this scale, new tech. This is right next to the market, serving local markets. Look at these designs, pretty kinky. Notice they're actually graphics, not diagrams, so they haven't been built yet. This one, Sahara project, this is using saltwater greenhouse technology that's been proven. The proof of concept is in Australia. I've spoken to the chat. This is using thermal energy, desalinating water and creating these massive sort of biomass farms with pretty good environmental footprints, turning arid deserts into productive land. Fish disco, aquaculture, huge. Rachel, hello. Over the last 2 decades, largest growth sector in food production, aquaculture, fish disco, 20% decrease in food consumed and a third increase in body weight. Sunil Kadri is a New Zealander. He's developed this technology called Opto Swim. Urban fish farming, Dr. Martin Schreibman from Brooklyn, have an urban fish farm in the backyard. He's got tilapia at the moment. He's got 1 to 1.5 ratio, so 1 kilo in, 1.5 of tilapia out. They're plate ready in 6 months, and he's got aquaponics on the back of that, so he's growing lettuces using the fish waste and all that. So he's got these little sort of ecosystems. In vitro meat, not new, growing cells and petri dishes. What is new is getting all that connective tissue and fat in them. Still haven't really done it, but I'd like to see the marketers block of beef, block of pork, and block of cock. Good luck selling that stuff. Personal food pyramids. What should we be eating in the future? Well, the food system is going to continue to reflect our preferences and our neuroses. So basically, whatever we want, the market is going to deliver. And really, it's a hard one to prescribe what each of us will want, and that will be played out in the market. So again, yeah, lots of food scares, food mess, I'm afraid. This is an interesting sector. This is functional foods, conventional foods, products modified to give a health benefit above and beyond basic nutrition. This is a massive growth category today. And again, people are living longer, so they're looking at bone health, heart health, and other functional foods. Now, it's 2011. Who'd have thought that a computer company is officially today the largest corporation on the planet? And hey, next year or the year after, we could be eating their burgers. Have a nice day.